We are introduced to a beautiful girl Cordelia giving Grandma some herbs. Other girls who saw that started saying she was doing witchcraft on Brad's grandma. Hearing that, Michael starts scolding the girls and says that Cordelia knew a lot about herbs and was helping Grandma. Seeing him stand up to her, the girl with reddish hair starts teasing Michael. While boys around Cordelia's age looked at her with not so pure thoughts, girls were blatantly jealous of her. Among the girls, the one who was mean the most was called Philippa. Colin sees Philippa throwing tomatoes at Cordelia's door. When he calls out to her, she flinches. While having a conversation, Philippa starts throwing the tomatoes again. After some time, we see Cordelia being scolded by the fatty madam about the tomato, accusing her of stealing it. Everyone knew she wasn't the culprit, but nobody helped her out. As the scapegoat of the place, everyone blamed her while nobody protected her. Even if the scapegoat disappeared, someone else would end up taking her place, starting the whole cycle again. Cordelia is constantly being insulted by everyone around her while others just laugh at her misfortune. When Colin finds Philippa at Cordelia's door, he questions why she attempts to make Cordelia's life difficult when she might simply ignore her, and if making things terrible for someone who is already in a horrible place is fun. Hearing that, Philippa grins at him and calls him a name that he used to be called when he was the scapegoat before the one-armed candlemaker. At home, Colin looks outside the window while adults who offer to help are looking for the candle to be delivered tomorrow. Colin tells them he had it till he visited Cordelia's home. The adults visit Cordelia's house to find out a dead cat and the candles all messed up. As everyone is asking who could have done it, the fatty madam runs to Cordelia and grabs her by the hair, blaming everything on her again. As McKeel is trying to defend her, someone calls Colin and asks him to say something as she had ruined his hard work. As Colin thinks it's his fault, Cordelia is called a witch and tries to say it was Philippa doing. Philippa suddenly grabs his arm and pulls to find out a candelabrum and stab in Philippa's hands. Philippa starts laughing and congratulates Colin for finding out she was a witch, surprising everyone. The witch turns from a young girl to a grown woman and starts walking toward the crowd. The witch reveals that she was aiming for Cordelia, but as she was found out, she would eat everyone instead. McKeel hits the witch with a rock and the other gets ready to attack the witch as well. After attacking the witch and killing her body, everyone acts like they always trusted Cordelia and blamed the witch for fooling them. Others start to begin surrounding Colin and thinking about what to do next. Later, Cordelia digs Philippa out of her grave and apologizes for how everything ends up happening. Though she tells Cordelia it's fine, she seems to really like McKeel and says she should go back before the townspeople find out. They hear a sound and turn to find out Colin was there looking at them. Cordelia grabs him by the throat and is ready to stab him, but Philippa tells her to leave him. After saying goodbye in tears and returning to the towns, Philippa turns to heal Colin and tells him to return home. Colin asks if she was using, but to which Philippa just laughs and tell him that he was the best option to end this story because he was good but cowardly. Philippa pokes his head and tells him to go back home, but Colin slaps her hand away and denies it. Colin refuses to go back to town with such a hypocritical town. Philippa looks bit confused for a bit, but tries to tell that everything will turn out fine as the evil Titch is dead. Colin denies it and says this only lasts a few days and they will find a new scapegoat to bully. Philippa tries to convince him to return, but Colin just walks forward, grabbing Lily the cat girl. This starts a cycle of Philippa trying to make Colin stay in a town or village while Colin follows her each and every time. Even after going through multiple towns with the same cycle of her telling Colin to stay in the next town or village they visit and Colin replying he will without any intention of doing so. Philippa keeps pestering Colin to settle down, but Colin just says he will think about it. In the new town, Colin somehow ends up taking the role of the children of Philippa along with Lily. During breakfast, due to Philippa's slip, some people start doubting if she is an actual mother or how she might have become such a young mother. While walking outside, Colin mocks Philippa acting, to which she pulls Colin into a drama. While Philippa is touched by drama, Colin isn't impressed. Philippa tells Colin that she learns from those dramas, but he just walks away grumbling. Colin asks why she needs to learn from humans, but Philippa claims that in order to fit in, she must learn from human civilization. Colin claims that because witches prey on people, people cannot coexist peacefully. Philippa merely grinned a little and said it made sense that people treated witches in such a way, not really caring. Colin points out how people try to kill her, but Philippa says their bonds become stronger due to her sacrifice. Colin runs away in anger, leaving both Philippa and Lily behind. Lily asks why she hadn't let him be, to which Philippa replies that her magic does work on him. Lily asks why doesn't she just escape him. She could have just flown away or popped into another country with just a wave of her hands, but she hadn't left Philippa standing there unmoving. Colin returns to the room as he doesn't have anywhere to go. After Lily comes to check on him, he goes out of the room to see Philippa on the first floor with a few customers talking about sons. As time goes by, Colin notices how normal the so-called witch was. She was clumsy, worried about the money, and liked to watch cheap street theater, usually about the same type of drama. One day in a cafe, after seeing Philippa cry, Colin and Lily just shout at her. Lily brings up the reason Cordelia's situation got to that point because of her learning from these dramas. Philippa tries to say it was nothing, but Colin brings up how she was stabbed and buried alive. Lily told Colin the story Philippa followed was of the red dokibi and the blue dokibi. It tells the story of red dokibi wanting to be friends with humans and blue dokibi helping it by being the bad guy who gets chased out by red dokibi, making red dokibi liked by everyone. When Colin screams back, things would just go back to how they used to be. After some time Philippa just says it would be fine even if it did. She knows how humans fight with each other but also huddle together, forgetting everything if something big happens. As days go by, he began to suppress his feeling but still didn't leave the witch. The witch also stopped pestering him to stay in town, and began enjoying living together. Colin asks the innkeeper for a separate room for himself, which the innkeeper understands as Colin had all grown up after 5 years. The innkeeper's son runs out to ask if Philippa was her mother, to which the customer brings up other points like her being young or not aging. The innkeeper gets angry, saying raising 2 children alone is hard and asking such a question was rude to them, silencing everyone in the inn. Colin talks about room change with Philippa, but she ends up treating him as a child, angering Colin. Colin changes his clothes and goes out with Lily, telling Philippa that he will clear his stuff out once he is back. Colin had opened up a stall in a tourist area to earn money, which quickly becomes popular. Hammer Realtor asks him to open up shop in Craftsman Alley, but Colin rejects it. As Hammer tries to convince his relationship with Lily and Philippa comes surprising Hammer that Philippa wasn't his wife. As he is thinking about everything Hammer said, he hears Lily make noise and sees a small girl. The girl calls for her master. The master happens to be Cordelia, who is surprised to see Colin alive. They go to a cafe and talk about how Colin had spent his last 5 years with Philippa. Colin brings up her daughter, trying to change the subject. Cordelia tells that she wasn't her actual daughter but just familiar. She was made to look like hers and Michael's daughter. She says if she had given birth to a daughter, that would mean he loves another woman that wasn't her. Colin sees how deep and needy Cordelia's love was and how it made her happy. Lily just comments that the witch's love was like that. When Colin returned, he sees Philippa had beaten up everyone in the inn. When Colin asked what had happened, she tells that a group of men suddenly tried to grab him. Colin snaps and asks if she had killed them, but Philippa replies she hadn't. Colin picks up a glass, saying she would never kill a human, and stabs one of the men in the neck. Startled, Philippa used her magic to heal the person. When she asked why he would do such a thing, he just turned to her looking a bit heartbroken and asked if she really didn't know and if she actually enjoyed playing mother. After he calms down and sits, he asks where Lily was. Philippa replies Lily was manipulating everyone's memory. She says that everyone might even forget that they were mother and son. Colin said they should stop the mother and son act then. Philippa says she stopped thinking of herself as a mother after some while, when Colin suddenly shouts about what their relationship was then. He stands up like he had given up and says they were done. He says they could go their separate ways like she always wanted. Philippa offers him to grant one wish. Down on his knees, he asks her to love him. Hearing that, Philippa dashes toward her and kisses him. The next day Colin introduces Philippa to Hammer and starts talking about moving and growing the business. The Hammer is happy and tells her to leave the matter to him. While Philippa and Hammer were talking, there is a loud crash. Philippa and Hammer turn toward the place to hear someone had been crushed. Philippa sees Colin crushed and blood running on the ground. Philippa stood there where she had lost Colin. This passed around her. The innkeeper passed down the 3rd generation, but she stood there silently. She hears a sound behind her, talking about the inn. When she turned, she saw a person who just asked if he looked weird with both arms and tell her that he is back. After that time, different country, different forms, but always with memory of the past. Their meeting was never fixed and their separation would be due to the boy's sudden death. One of their life is during the war. Colin is stressed when his employees are sent to the gas chamber because they were of a certain race. With stress running high, he is comforted by Philippa. He is still disappointed by how humans act while Philippa still says that what makes them precious. He still doesn't fully understand how Philippa thinks but agrees that there are many types of people, good and bad. The next thing Philippa sees is him being hanged in the middle of the street and being insulted by everyone surrounding him. As she sees them throw insults and stones at his dead body, she thinks that humans really don't change and kills everyone there and walks toward Colin. Lily notifies that humans are coming. Philippa then walks away with Lily, going through yet another death of Colin. This was the first time Philippa and Lily has killed a human, and she disappears from that world never to be seen.